Close your eyes and picture this. It's a chilly evening in 1953. A young couple just finished dinner. Their two children are curled up in flannel pajamas. And in the living room, the soft blue glow of a brand new television set lights up their faces. They sit together in awe, mesmerized by a live broadcast of a comedy show, laughing along with millions of other Americans who are watching the exact same thing at the exact same time. For the first time in history, technology has brought the country together like never before, not through the printed word, not through the radio, but through moving pictures that flicker right in the comfort of home. That box in the living room, no larger than a small cabinet, wasn't just entertainment, it was about to change everything. In the early 1950s, television wasn't a part of life, it was the center of it. The decade witnessed one of the fastest technological adoptions in American history. In just a few years, the number of homes with a television set leapt from a mere handful to over 90%. The transformation was breathtaking. Before, families gathered around radios to hear voices describe stories they had to imagine. Now, they could see the stories unfold in real time. The shift wasn't just technological, it was deeply cultural. The television became more than an appliance. It became a storyteller, a babysitter, a teacher, a salesman, and a mirror that reflected and shaped the American identity. Families across the country began to organize their daily routines around the television schedule. Dinner had to be done in time for I Love Lucy. Kids rushed through homework so they could catch the latest episode of The Lone Ranger. Parents discussed last night's variety show with coworkers at the office. The television wasn't just a hobby, it was a ritual. It altered the way Americans spent their evenings, how they socialized, and even what they talked about. Conversations shifted from local events to shared national moments, all broadcast into homes by networks that suddenly had tremendous cultural power. With this new influence came a crafted version of reality. Television in the 1950s presented a very specific image of what America was, or at least what it was supposed to be. It painted a picture of the ideal family, white, middle-class, suburban, with a father who worked a 9-to-5 job and a mother who stayed at home wearing pearls while vacuuming. The children were always polite, the lawns were always mowed, and life always seemed tidy. These characters weren't just entertaining, they were aspirational. They taught Americans how to act, how to dress, how to speak, and what to want. But that image came with consequences. While millions found comfort and familiarity in these scripted lives, others were left out. People of color were almost completely absent from these portrayals of American life. The shows didn't reflect the diversity of the real United States, they reflected a sanitized version of a dream that wasn't available to everyone. Still, because it was on television, it began to feel like the standard. Anything outside of that picture-perfect family template seemed unusual or even unacceptable. Television didn't just influence how people lived, it revolutionized how they shopped. This was the decade that gave birth to modern advertising. The moment television entered the American home, companies saw gold. They realized that they could speak directly to millions of viewers and, better yet, they could show them why they needed a product. Advertisers didn't just sell soap or cereal. They sold happiness, status, and success. Commercials showed glowing families using the newest cleaning products, the sleekest cars, the fluffiest white bread. And it worked. Viewers didn't just want the product, they wanted the lifestyle that came with it. This was when slogans and jingles became part of everyday life. A catchy phrase on television could launch a product into superstardom. The line between entertainment and advertising started to blur. Entire shows were sponsored by brands, with actors sometimes promoting products in the middle of scenes. Children's programming was a goldmine for cereal and toy companies. Saturday mornings turned into a colorful explosion of cartoons and commercials, shaping what kids asked for and what parents bought. With the power of persuasion running through their broadcasts, television networks also began to impact politics in ways no one had predicted. Before television, political speeches were largely heard on the radio or read in the newspaper. But now, candidates had to be seen. They had to look trustworthy, sound polished, and project confidence on camera. Image suddenly mattered more than ever before. Dwight D. Eisenhower was among the first to embrace TV's potential, airing short, snappy commercials that showed him as warm, relatable, and strong. It was a completely new kind of campaigning. Politics became about optics as much as policies. By the end of the decade, it was clear if you wanted to win hearts and votes, you had to win them on screen. At the same time, television unintentionally became a witness to America's growing pains. Though most programming stuck to safe and sanitized stories, live news broadcasts began capturing the realities many Americans faced, especially when it came to civil rights. Scenes of protests, boycotts, and brutality in the South made their way into the nation's living rooms. While these images were often uncomfortable, they played a crucial role in informing and awakening viewers who might otherwise have been shielded from such realities. It was subtle in the 50s, but these early moments planted seeds for what would become a powerful role for television in the social movements of the 1960s and beyond. Television also gave rise to the celebrity culture we now take for granted. Actors, singers, and performers could now achieve overnight fame. A single appearance on a popular variety show could launch a career. Think of Elvis Presley's controversial but electric television performances. Millions watched. Parents panicked. Teenagers swooned. Television made him a household name. Suddenly, celebrities weren't distant stars, they were regular guests in your home. You saw their smiles, their gestures, their quirks. They felt like friends. And it wasn't just Stars Television changed how people saw each other. Americans who lived in remote areas could now experience the fashion of New York City, the slang of California, the humor of Chicago. It created a cultural blend, a national conversation. It gave people common ground, and it flattened the differences between regions. Whether you were on a farm in Iowa or an apartment in Boston, television gave you access to the same images, ideas, and entertainment. For the first time, the country truly shared the same stories. But not everyone was convinced that this new medium was entirely good. Critics called television a vast wasteland, accusing it of promoting passive behavior, mindless consumerism, and poor attention spans. Some parents worried their children were spending too much time in front of the screen. Others felt that television dumbed down culture, reducing complex issues to catchy sound bites or overly simplistic morality tales. There were concerns about violence, stereotypes, and the effect of constant commercial bombardment. Yet despite these concerns, no one could deny television's power. Even in those early days, it was clear that television had shifted how time was spent, how relationships functioned, and how information was absorbed. People stopped going to movie theaters as often. Dinner conversations grew shorter. Books gathered dust on shelves. Instead, America stared into a glowing screen, hungry for connection, entertainment, and distraction. And the television, ever obedient, gave them exactly what they wanted, while quietly changing their behavior, their dreams, and their expectations. As the 1950s drew to a close, television had become something extraordinary. It wasn't just a medium, it was a mirror, a megaphone, a marketplace, and a magnet. It reflected society, shaped opinions, sold desires, and captured imaginations. It brought families together, even as it subtly changed the way they connected. It celebrated the American dream while silently redefining what that dream looked like. Its flickering light spilled across carpets and coffee tables into the minds of children and the choices of adults, and its influence only growing stronger. If you've ever streamed a show late at night, binge-watched a series, or found yourself influenced by an ad without even realizing it, you're living in the world television created. The seeds were planted in the black and white glow of the 1950s. And even now, in the era of smartphones and streaming, the DNA of that first television generation lives on. So next time you power up your screen, think about how it all began. In a decade defined by hope, conformity, consumerism, and rapid change, television quietly slipped into American life and rewrote the rules. It didn't just entertain you, it became us. If this journey through the birth of television moved you, taught you something new, or brought back memories of a simpler time, go ahead and tap that like button. Let me know in the comments what's your favorite classic television moment, or what surprised you most about how it all started. And if you want more deep dives into the events, ideas, and technologies that shaped our world, don't forget to subscribe and ring that bell. Thanks for watching.